All right, gang, it is now time for our Unit 7 Part 2 review video where we take a look at Part 2 of our study guide. Let's get to it. Here we are on Part 2. We've got a lot of coordinate grids, a lot of graphing going on here, and so it's something that I think that we're all capable of doing just by being careful as we plot our points. So number 1 says reflect the point -6, -5 over the x-axis. So I'm going to go ahead and start by plotting out -6, -5. So I start at my origin. I go over -6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's where -6 would be. Then I go down -5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right here is -6, -5. Now if I'm reflecting this over the x-axis, I need to know which one's the x-axis. That's the one that goes horizontally. That's x. The vertical one is my y-axis. So if I'm reflecting it over x, it's like I'm taking my paper, folding it over, increasing, and that -6, -5 is going to leave a mark up here somewhere in quadrant 2. So if I know something about reflections, I know I'm reflecting over the x, so the x value stays the same. So I'm looking for -6, right? And then the y is just going to switch. It's going to be its opposite. So that's going to be +5. All right, so I could actually create my ordered pair without doing any graphing there, but I definitely need to graph that reflection. So let me find -6, +5. There's -6, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here is -6, +5. Easy. Let's move on to number 2. Reflect the point -2, -1 over the y-axis. Well, again, our x is here, and our y is going to be the vertical. So -2, -1. I go over -2. I go down -1. Right here is going to be my -2, -1 point. If I'm reflecting over the y, that means I'm folding along the y. So that point is going to be over here in quadrant number 4. So it's going to keep my y value, which is -1, and then the opposite of the x value, so it's going to be 2, -1. So 2, -1. Let me plot that out. So I have over 2, down 1, boom. Right there's my reflection, and hopefully you can see that that's pretty evenly spaced apart from the y-axis. Take a look at number 3, because in number 3, I sort of feel like maybe we're going to get the hang of this. We have a reflection of the point -4, 5 over the x-axis followed by the y-axis. Ooh, tricky here. So let me start by plotting -4, -5. Start at the origin, go over -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's -4. Go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. There's -4, 5. Now I start by plotting over the x-axis, which again, my x is here, my y is here. So if I'm reflecting over x, it's going to be over here in quadrant 3. And I keep the x value at -4 and use the opposite of my y, which is -5. So I have -4, -5. So here I am at -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cutting it a little close there. So first I went over the x-axis, and I might be tempted to write that down here, but I actually then need to reflect it over the y-axis. So I'm taking this point, my reflected point, over the y-axis. If I reflect over the y stays the same at -5. I use the opposite of the x, which is going to be 4. So my point here is going to be 4, -5. 4, negative, if I can write, yikes, 4, -5. So if I go over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there is my reflection. And what I might do even is show that reflection to help myself figure out where I'm going. Just like I could show my reflection in all these other ones, which I didn't do, and maybe I should have, just to help you out here in the video. Okay, so that arrow shows us which direction that reflection goes. Take a look at number 4. I feel like this one's going to be pretty easy as long as we're thinking clearly. It says one shark is 10 feet below sea level. The dolphin is 12 feet below sea level. Write each position as an integer and determine which integer is greater. Okay, so the shark is 10 feet below sea level. That would be an integer of -10. The dolphin is 12 feet below sea level. That would be an integer of -12. The greater of those two integers, if I graph this out, I'd have -12, -11, right? -10, -9. I'm doing a bad job here writing these out. But the greater one is the one to the right. So the shark is going to be the greater integer. And that's the integer that is -10. All right, page 1, hopefully not so bad. We're looking good so far, I hope. Let's move on now to number 2, or page number 2, number 5. Here we are. It says, plot the ordered pair in the coordinate plane. That means we have to graph it. Describe the location of the point. In other words, which quadrant is it located in? So I have point A, it's -5, -6. Well, this is no problem. I go over -5. Here it is on the line. I go down -6. This could be a little tricky on my study guide because it goes off the grid, but we should probably know that on our test, it's going to stay on the grid. So my location here, if this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4, my location is quadrant 3. Let me do number 6 right now because this is pretty much the same thing. Now I have some decimals here where I have to figure out 3.5. So if I go over 3.5, 1, 2, 3, 0.5 would be right in the middle of 3 and 4. And then I go down to 0.5 or 2.5. 1, 2.5 would be right here. So right here is point B, and that's located in quadrant 4. Easy stuff if we know what we're doing, and hopefully by test time you do. Let's move on now to number 7. Number 7 is a two-part question, so we want to make sure we're aware of that. It says the pool is located at 0, 0. That's actually my origin point. There's the pool. Okay, I'm going to label that as P just for fun. It says for letter A, to get to your house from the pool, you walk 6 blocks east and 3 blocks north. What ordered pair corresponds to the location of your house? Well, let me do that. Here I am at my pool. I was going to put my pen tip or pencil tip right on the origin at 0, 0. If I go 6 blocks east, that means I'm going to the right. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks east and 3 blocks north. That means I'm going 1, 2, 3. So my point here is 6, 3. So that would be the location then of my house, 6, 3. It says what quadrant is your house located in? Well, that's obviously quadrant 1. So although number 7 looks maybe tough on the surface, it's actually a very easy question for us to answer. Look at number 8. It says a number is greater than -20 and less than 2. What is the least possible integer value of this number, and what is the greatest possible integer value of this number? Well, I could easily draw out a number line to do this, but I know I can kind of picture this in my head. -20 is going to be way over here on the left, and 2 is going to be way over here on the right. If it's a number between those, the greatest value is going to be the next number behind 2, which is 1. And then the least value is the next number right before -20, which is -19. Again, if you need to draw out a number line, you can. Look at number 9. A number is greater than -2 and less than 12. Here they were so nice to give us a number line, and I surely do appreciate that. So I'm going to use it actually. So I have -2 here, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I know that that number is greater than -2, which is here, and less than 12. It's somewhere in between. What's the greatest possible integer value it could be? Well, it's 11. And now that I have that number line, maybe this is easier for you to see, and maybe it convinces you to use the number line for number 8. I don't know. What's the least possible integer value? Well, that would be -1. All right, on to page number 3 as we are rolling on through our study guide, which again is your ultimate preparation for the test. Here's number 10. Point X is on a number line halfway between -9 and 11. Point Y represents an integer that has the same absolute value as point X. what integer represents point x and what integers could be represented by point y. Well, let me use my number line here to actually draw this out. So here's my number line. I start with -9, -8, -7, -6, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, so point x is halfway between -9 and 11. I probably want to figure out the distance between -9 and 11. If I want to, I could count them all up, right? Or I know that 11, the absolute value is 11, and 9, the absolute value is 9, so I know the total distance is going to be 20. So what number would be halfway between 20? Well, it would have to be 10, right? So point x is halfway. So if I take 11 and subtract 10, or take -9 and add 10, that's going to put me halfway, which is going to be point x. That coincidentally equals 1. So point x is 1. The integer that represents point x is 1. Y represents an integer that has the same absolute value as point x. So let me think about what integers could have the absolute value of 1. That could be 1 or -1. And on your study guide, that maybe isn't clear that that's 2 answers, but on the test, that'll be made much clearer for you that that's actually looking for 2 answers, because 1 and -1 both have the same absolute value, and that is 1. Moving on to number 11. It says the table shows the elevation of 4 swimmers. Which swimmer dives down the farthest? Let's take a look. We have swimmers A, B, C, and D. Here's all their elevations, how far they're swimming down deep in the water. I'm basically just looking for the smallest number, the number that would be furthest left on the number line. So I see these and I look at them, and this seems pretty obvious to me. The smallest number is the largest negative number, right? That sounds weird to say, but -40 would be the largest negative number. It's the biggest number that we see that's in the negatives, which means it's actually the smallest. So -40 is the smallest number. They're diving down the deepest below the sea level. Look at number 12. Number 12 says one day in December, the average temperature in Canton was -21 degrees Fahrenheit, and the average temperature in Akron was -19 degrees Fahrenheit. I think I remember that day. Create an inequality to compare these 2 temperatures. When I hear inequality, I think of inequality symbols like greater than or less than. So I just need to create an inequality. So I have -21 and I have -19. Those are the 2 numbers that I'm pulling right from the problem. Let me think of an inequality symbol I could put here. -21 compared to -19. If I have a chomping mouth, which way do I want to go? Which number is going to be the higher of the 2 numbers? Well, if you think about a number line, -19 is going to be bigger than -21. So my chomping mouth goes that direction. And here I'd say -21 is less than -19. Now, if I switch those numbers, obviously my sign would switch. Let's move on to number 13, our last one here. It says the height of Mount Rogers in Virginia is 5,651 feet. After reaching the top, a mountain climber climbs down to a height of 5,600 feet. Write an integer that represents the climber's change in height. Well, I'm going to use a visual here because I'm more of a visual person. So Mount Rogers is 5,651. I can't even talk here. I'm getting so delirious at the end of our study guide. After reaching the top of the mountain, the climber climbs down to a height of 5,600 feet. Right? So they went all the way up to 5,600 feet, or 5,651, then went down. Okay? So we want to write an integer that represents the climber's change in height. So we just want the change in height, this distance here. They went from 5,651, and we could subtract 5,600. This is pretty easy math, so I'm not really going to have to do this off to the side, but if it's harder than this on our test, we could obviously do the math on the side. Our change in height is 51 feet. And that is our study guide, which coincidentally will help you tremendously in preparing for your Unit 7 test. Please take your study guide seriously. Please take the test seriously, and make sure that you are working hard to complete both of them accurately so you can get the best score possible. I'm Mr. Regner. Thanks so much for your attention. Have a lovely day, and I will check you out next time.